You're standing in the middle of a hurricane. The wind is screaming. Everything around you is spinning out of control. But right there, in the center, there's absolute stillness. Perfect calm. That place exists. And it's not somewhere out there. It's inside you. Right now, at this very moment, someone just like you is sitting in bumper-to-bumper traffic, heart racing, jaw clenched, wondering why life feels like a never-ending battle. Meanwhile, in that same traffic jam, someone else sits peacefully, breathing slowly, mind clear, completely untouched by the chaos pressing in from every side. What's the difference? It's not luck. It's not genetics. It's not some mystical gift reserved for monks on mountaintops. It's a skill. And you're about to learn it. Welcome to the art of being calm in a chaotic world. If you've pressed play on this audiobook, chances are you know exactly what chaos feels like. Maybe it's the notifications that never stop, the news cycle that feeds on anxiety, the work emails at midnight, the relationships that drain you, the racing thoughts at 3 a.m., the constant feeling that you're one crisis away from losing it. You're not imagining it. The world has gotten more chaotic. We're living in an era of unprecedented noise, information overload, social comparison on steroids, 24/7 connectivity, economic uncertainty, and a culture that glorifies the grind while our mental health crumbles in the background. But here's what most people won't tell you. Chaos doesn't create stress. Your reaction to chaos does. That's not some feel-good bumper sticker wisdom. It's a fundamental truth that, once understood and applied, will completely transform how you experience life. As the Roman Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. This audiobook isn't about escaping to a remote cabin in the woods or pretending the world's problems don't exist. It's about developing an unshakable inner calm that travels with you. Into the boardroom, the family dinner, the difficult conversation, the unexpected crisis. Over the next 10 chapters, you're going to discover why your brain is actually designed to freak out and how to rewire it. The counterintuitive reason why trying to control everything makes you less calm. How the world's calmest people think differently about stress, conflict, and uncertainty. Practical, science-backed techniques you can use today to quiet your mind in seconds. The ancient wisdom that modern neuroscience is only now beginning to validate. This isn't a theory. This isn't fluff. This is a practical operating system for your mind in the modern world. By the time you finish this audiobook, you won't just understand calm, you'll be calm. Not because your life got easier, but because you got stronger. Chapter 1. The Illusion of Control. There's a lie you've been told your entire life. It's so deeply embedded in how we think that you probably don't even recognize it as a lie. Here it is. If you just work hard enough, plan well enough, and stay on top of everything, you can control your life. It sounds reasonable, right? Responsible, even. It's the American dream repackaged. Pull yourself up, take charge, make it happen. But here's the truth. The more you try to control everything, the more anxious you become. Think about it. What stresses you out the most? Is it the things going exactly according to plan? Or is it the things that aren't? The traffic that makes you late? The person who doesn't text back? The project that hits an unexpected snag? The economy, the weather, other people's opinions? Your own thoughts at 2 a.m. You're exhausted because you're trying to control things that were never yours to control in the first place. The psychologist Dr. Stephen Hayes, founder of acceptance and commitment therapy, puts it this way: the problem is not the problem. The problem is the ineffective way we're trying to solve the problem. Let me take you back to a Tuesday morning in March 2020. Remember that feeling? The moment when millions of Americans realized that the control they thought they had over their schedules, their jobs, their kids' schools, their plans for the year, was an illusion. Gyms closed. Offices shut down. Weddings canceled. Entire life plans evaporated overnight. And what happened? Some people absolutely spiraled. Others, facing the exact same circumstances, found a strange peace. They adapted. They let go. They focused on what they could control. Their response, their attitude, their next small step. Same chaos. Completely different experience. The ancient Stoics understood this thousands of years ago. Epictetus, who lived as a slave before becoming one of history's greatest philosophers, taught a simple but revolutionary idea. There are things within your control, and things outside your control. Wisdom is knowing the difference. Within your control, your thoughts, with practice, your actions, your effort, your response to events, your values, what you pay attention to, outside your control, other people's behavior, the past, most of the future, the economy, natural disasters, what people think of you, traffic, weather, and whether your flight gets delayed. Read those lists again. Really let them sink in. Now ask yourself, where do you spend most of your mental energy? If you're like most people, you're pouring 80% of your energy into that second list, the things you can't control, while neglecting the first list, where your actual power lives. This is the invisible source of most modern anxiety. We live in a culture obsessed with control. We have apps to track everything. Our steps, our calories, our sleep cycles, our productivity. We refresh news feeds compulsively because we believe that knowing equals controlling. We make backup plans for our backup plans. We try to manage how people perceive us on social media. We attempt to think our way out of uncertainty. And we wonder why we're all so damn anxious. Here's what's wild. Research from the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology shows that people with an inflated sense of control actually experience more stress, not less. They set themselves up for constant disappointment because reality will never perfectly match their expectations. Meanwhile, people who practice acceptance, who acknowledge what they can't control without fighting it, report significantly lower anxiety and higher life satisfaction. Let me be crystal clear. Acceptance doesn't mean passivity. It doesn't mean giving up or not caring. It means directing your energy where it actually makes a difference. Think of it like this. Imagine you're in a boat on a river. The current is strong. You can't control the current. You can't control where the river bends. You can't control if it rains. But you can control how you steer. You can control your paddle strokes. You can control whether you panic or stay focused. You can control whether you work with the current or exhaust yourself fighting against it. That's where your power is. The journalist Oliver Burkeman, in his book 4,000 Weeks, writes, "The day you accept that your life is uncertain is the day you become free. Because once you stop trying to control the uncontrollable, an incredible thing happens. You discover you have way more control than you thought over the things that actually matter. You can't control whether you get stuck in traffic, but you can control whether you use that time to practice breathing, listen to something meaningful, or call someone you love. You can't control whether someone criticizes you, but you can control whether you let that criticism define you. You can't control whether a crisis hits, but you can control who you become in response to it. Here's your first practice, starting today. The control audit. Every time you feel anxiety rising, pause and ask, is this within my control? If yes, take action. Do the thing. Make the call. Have the conversation. If no, and this is the hard part, let it go. Redirect your attention to something you can influence. This isn't easy. Your brain will resist. It's been practicing the opposite for years. But this simple question, asked consistently, will rewire your relationship with stress. As the Serenity Prayer, adopted by 12-step programs across America, wisely states, "Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference." That wisdom, that ability to discern what's yours to carry and what isn't, is the foundation of lasting calm. The illusion of control has been running your life. It's time to see through it. And on the other side, there's not helplessness, there's freedom. Chapter 2. The Anxiety Factory. How your brain betrays you, and how to take it back. Your brain is trying to kill you. Well, not really, but it's definitely trying to stress you out. And here's the kicker, it thinks it's helping. Right now, as you listen to these words, there's an almond-shaped cluster of neurons in your brain called the amygdala. It's your internal alarm system, your threat detector, your personal bodyguard. And it's working overtime. Your amygdala can't tell the difference between a lion charging at you and an email from your boss with the subject line, "We need to talk." Same alarm. Same physiological response. Same flood of cortisol and adrenaline dumping into your bloodstream. The problem? You evolved to handle the lion. You didn't evolve to handle 47 browser tabs, 300 unread emails, a divisive political climate, social media comparison, financial anxiety, and an endless stream of notifications, all before breakfast. Dr. Robert Sapolsky, Stanford neuroscientist and author of Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers, explains it perfectly. We've turned on the same stress response that's supposed to help us escape predators, but we're triggering it constantly over things that can't be solved by running away or fighting. Think about a zebra on the African savanna. A lion appears. The zebra's stress response kicks in, heart rate spikes, muscles flood with oxygen, digestion shuts down, all systems focused on one thing: survive the next 3 minutes. And then, either the zebra escapes or it doesn't. But if it escapes, something remarkable happens. Within minutes, the zebra is calmly grazing again. Stress over. System reset. Now think about your life. Your stress response gets triggered when you wake up and immediately check your phone. It gets triggered by the morning news, by traffic, by that passive-aggressive message in the work chat, by your bank balance, by comparing your life to someone's highlight reel on Instagram, by thinking about that conversation you need to have, by remembering that embarrassing thing you said 6 years ago. Your system never resets. You're living in a constant state of low-grade threat activation. Your body is literally preparing you to fight or flee from your Gmail inbox. Here's what's happening physiologically. When your amygdala perceives a threat, it activates your sympathetic nervous system. Your heart rate increases. Your breathing gets shallow. Blood flows away from your digestive system and toward your muscles. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for rational thinking, perspective, and calm decision-making, gets suppressed. This is perfect if you're running from a predator. It's terrible if you're trying to have a difficult conversation with your partner, make a strategic business decision, or just feel okay on a random Wednesday. The National Institute of Mental Health reports that anxiety disorders now affect over 40 million American adults. That's nearly 20% of the population. But here's what they don't tell you. Most people aren't experiencing anxiety because something is wrong with them. They're experiencing anxiety because their ancient hardware is running modern software it was never designed to handle. Your brain's threat detection system has a negativity bias. It's wired to assume the worst because, evolutionarily speaking, the cost of missing a real threat was death, while the cost of seeing a threat that wasn't there was just wasted energy. Better to freak out about 100 false alarms than miss the one real danger. This made perfect sense 10,000 years ago. Today, it means your brain interprets uncertainty as danger, silence as rejection, and every unexpected change as a potential catastrophe. You're not broken. Your brain is just doing what it was designed to do, in a world it wasn't designed for. So how do you take it back? First, you need to understand the gap. There's a crucial moment between stimulus and response. Viktor Frankl, Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, wrote, "Between stimulus and response there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom." That space exists in your brain. When something happens, an email, a thought, a sound, there's a microscopic moment before your automatic reaction kicks in. Most people never notice it because they've trained themselves to react instantly. But that gap, that's where calm lives. Second, you need to activate your parasympathetic nervous system. This is your body's natural calming system, the counterbalance to fight or flight. And the fastest way to activate it? Your breath. Not metaphorically, not eventually, immediately. When you deliberately slow your breathing, particularly when you extend your exhale, you send a direct signal to your vagus nerve, which tells your brain, we're safe. Stand down. Dr. Andrew Huberman, neuroscientist at Stanford, has popularized a technique called the physiological sigh. A double inhale through the nose followed by a long exhale through the mouth. Studies show this pattern can reduce stress in real time, faster than traditional meditation. Your breath is the remote control to your nervous system. Most people just never pick it up. Third, you need to name it to tame it. UCLA neuroscience research led by Dr. Matthew Lieberman discovered something fascinating. When you label an emotion, when you actually say, I'm feeling anxious, or this is frustration, activity in your amygdala decreases and activity in your prefrontal cortex increases. Just naming what you feel begins to shift your brain from reactive mode to responsive mode. It sounds too simple to work, but brain scans don't lie. Fourth, you need to practice discomfort. Here's a hard truth. You can't think your way to calm. You have to train your nervous system, the same way you'd train a muscle. Cold showers, exercise that pushes your heart rate up, sitting with uncomfortable emotions instead of immediately distracting yourself. These aren't just wellness trends. They're nervous system training. When you voluntarily expose yourself to manageable stress and practice staying calm through it, you're literally rewiring your threat response. You're teaching your amygdala, we can handle this. This isn't death. Over time, your window of tolerance expands. Things that used to send you into panic mode become just things. The author Ryan Holiday writes, "The obstacle is the way." Your anxiety isn't the enemy. It's the teacher. It's showing you exactly where your nervous system needs training. Your brain isn't betraying you. It's just outdated. An incredible, beautiful, powerful supercomputer running software from the Stone Age. But here's the good news. Neuroplasticity is real. Your brain can change. Your automatic responses can be rewired. Your threat detection system can be recalibrated. Not overnight. Not without effort. But absolutely, definitively possible. You're not at the mercy of your anxiety. You're at the beginning of understanding it. And understanding is the first step to freedom. Chapter 3. The Noise Diet. Cutting the chaos you can actually control. Here's a question most people never ask themselves. How much of the chaos in my life did I actually invite in? We talk about living in a chaotic world like we're passive victims of circumstance. Like chaos just happens to us. But the truth is far more uncomfortable and far more empowering. Most of the noise in your head comes from sources you voluntarily consume every single day. Think about what you did this morning. Before your feet hit the floor, did you reach for your phone? Did you scroll through news designed to trigger outrage? Social media engineered to create envy? Messages that made demands on your attention before you even decided what you wanted for the day? You're not just living in a chaotic world. You're mainlining chaos and calling it staying informed. The average American spends over 7 hours a day on screens, according to recent Nielsen data. 7 hours. That's more time than you spend sleeping. More time than you spend with actual human beings. And what are we consuming during those 7 hours? Outrage, comparison, disaster, distraction, other people's opinions about other people's opinions, arguments with strangers, highlight reels that make our real lives feel inadequate, breaking news that breaks our nervous systems. The author Cal Newport puts it bluntly, we've outsourced our attention to algorithms designed to keep us agitated, because agitation drives engagement, and engagement drives profit. You wouldn't eat poison just because someone handed it to you, but you're consuming mental poison all day long and wondering why you can't find peace. Let me tell you about Marcus. He's a composite of dozens of people I've studied, a 34-year-old marketing manager in Austin. Successful by most measures. Good job, decent apartment, solid relationship. But Marcus woke up every day with his heart already racing. He'd check his phone before he was fully conscious. Emails, Slack messages, news notifications, Instagram. By the time he got to work, he'd already consumed the equivalent of a full newspaper, 3 magazines, and 20 conversations. His brain was full before his life even started. He felt constantly behind, constantly anxious, constantly like he was missing something. And he was, but not what he thought. He wasn't missing information. He was missing himself. After hitting a wall, panic attacks, insomnia, a creeping sense that life was happening to him rather than for him, Marcus tried something radical. He went on a noise diet. Not forever. Just for 2 weeks. Here's what he cut. Morning news. Social media, deleted the apps from his phone. Podcast news shows. Slack notifications outside of work hours. Group chats that were just complaint forums. That one friend who only called to dump problems. And here's what he added. 10 minutes of silence in the morning. A walk without headphones. 1 physical book. Cooking dinner instead of scrolling while eating takeout. The first 3 days were brutal. He felt phantom vibrations. He reached for his phone automatically dozens of times. He felt anxious about what he might be missing. But by day 5, something shifted. His thoughts got quieter. Not gone. Quieter. He noticed things. The way morning light hit his kitchen counter. How coffee actually tasted when he wasn't simultaneously reading about global catastrophe. The fact that his girlfriend was funny when he actually listened. After 2 weeks, his resting anxiety had dropped noticeably. He wasn't calmer because the world got less chaotic. He was calmer because he stopped dunking his brain in chaos every waking moment. Here's what the research shows. A study from the University of Pennsylvania found that limiting social media use to just 30 minutes per day led to significant reductions in loneliness, anxiety, depression, and FOMO, fear of missing out. After only 3 weeks. 30 minutes. Not 0. Just boundaries. Dr. Gloria Mark, who studies digital distraction at UC Irvine, found that it takes an average of 23 minutes to fully return to a task after an interruption. Think about that. Every notification, every quick check of your phone, you're not losing seconds. You're losing half an hour of deep focus and mental calm. Your attention is finite. It's your most valuable resource. And you're giving it away for free to whoever makes the loudest noise. The noise diet isn't about becoming a hermit or pretending the world doesn't exist. It's about being intentional instead of reactive. Here's how to start. First, audit your inputs. For 2 days, track everything you consume. Every app, every podcast, every conversation, every news source. Don't judge it yet. Just notice. Then ask, does this make me more calm or less calm? More capable or less capable? More like the person I want to be or less? Be honest. That political podcast that makes your blood boil. Is it actually helping you make better decisions, or is it just feeding your outrage addiction? Second, create consumption windows. You don't need to check email 12 times an hour. You don't need breaking news alerts. You don't need to be available to everyone all the time. Set specific times for specific inputs. Email twice a day. News once a day, if at all. Social media during a defined 30-minute window, not scattered throughout every spare moment. The journalist Oliver Berkman asks a powerful question. What would you do with your attention if you weren't using it to follow the news obsessively? Third, protect the first hour. What you consume in the first hour after waking sets the tone for your entire day. If you start with chaos, you'll carry chaos. Marcus Aurelius, who ruled the Roman Empire, arguably one of the most stressful jobs in human history, started each day with meditation and philosophical reflection, not scrolling through the ancient equivalent of Twitter. Your morning should belong to you, not to everyone else's agenda. Fourth, cure it ruthlessly. Unfollow accounts that make you feel bad. Leave group chats that drain you. Stop listening to podcasts out of obligation. Stop reading books you hate just to finish them. Life's too short to consume content that makes you miserable. Marie Kondo asked, "Does it spark joy?" Ask yourself, does this create calm? Here's the thing nobody tells you. The world won't fall apart if you stop paying attention to most of it. The truly important stuff? You'll still hear about it. But you'll hear about it on your terms, not as a panic-inducing notification while you're trying to have dinner. The author Greg McKeown writes in Essentialism, "If you don't prioritize your life, someone else will." The same is true for your attention. You can't control the chaos out there, but you can absolutely control how much of it you invite into your mind. Stop drinking from the fire hose. Start sipping from sources that nourish you. Your calm depends on it. Chapter 4. The Power of the Pause. Mastering the Art of Doing Nothing. Americans are terrible at doing nothing. We wear busyness like a badge of honor. We brag about how packed our schedules are, how little sleep we got, how many projects we're juggling. We say, "I'm so busy," the way other cultures say, "hello." And we wonder why we're exhausted, anxious, and perpetually on edge. Here's what nobody tells you. Your brain needs emptiness the way your lungs need air. But we've filled every possible gap. Waiting in line, scroll, commute, podcast, lunch break, email. Even our relaxation is productive. We binge shows while online shopping, we exercise while catching up on news, we can barely sit through dinner without checking our phones. We've eliminated pause from our lives entirely. And pause is where calm lives. The neuroscientist Dr. Marcus Raichle discovered something remarkable in the early 2000s. He found that when people weren't focused on a specific task, when their brains were supposedly doing nothing, there was actually intense activity happening in a network of brain regions he called the default mode network. This network is where you process experiences, consolidate memories, imagine the future, understand yourself, and generate insights. It's where creativity happens, where meaning gets made, where you figure out who you are and what matters. But here's the problem. The default mode network only activates when you're not consuming something, not scrolling, not watching, not listening, not reading, not doing, just being. When was the last time you did that? Really did nothing? No input, no agenda, no productivity, no entertainment? For most Americans, the answer is never. Or maybe childhood. Blaise Pascal, the French philosopher, wrote in 1654, "All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone." 370 years later, we've proven him right. Except now we can't even sit quietly in a room with our phones. Let me tell you about Sarah, a 41-year-old attorney in Chicago. High achiever, respected in her firm, always 3 steps ahead. She came to me because despite her success, she felt completely disconnected from herself. "I don't even know what I think anymore," she said. "I just react all day long." I asked her to try something simple. Sit in her car for 5 minutes before going into work. No phone, no radio, no podcast, just sit. She looked at me like I'd suggested she fly to the moon. "And do what?" she asked. "Nothing. Just notice what it feels like to be you." The first time she tried it, she lasted 90 seconds before reaching for her phone. The silence felt suffocating. Her thoughts felt overwhelming. She described it as like sticking my head underwater. But she kept trying. By week 2, something shifted. The silence stopped feeling hostile. Her thoughts, which had seemed like an angry mob, started to settle into something more like a conversation. She started noticing things: the tree outside her office that was changing colors, the actual sensation of breathing, thoughts and feelings she'd been running from for years. "I realized I've been avoiding myself," she told me. "I filled every second because I was scared of what I'd find if I stopped." This is the dirty secret nobody talks about. We're not addicted to our phones. We're addicted to avoiding ourselves. The constant stimulation, the endless content, the perpetual busyness, it's all a sophisticated avoidance mechanism. Because when we pause, when we stop, we have to face what's actually there. The anxiety we've been outrunning, the grief we haven't processed, the questions we haven't answered, the life we're living versus the life we actually want. Pause forces us to confront reality, so we've eliminated it. But here's the paradox. The thing you're avoiding is the thing that will set you free. Dr. Judson Brewer, psychiatrist and neuroscientist at Brown University, studies habit formation and anxiety. His research shows that avoidance actually strengthens anxiety, while gentle, curious attention to our inner experience diminishes it. In other words, running from yourself makes everything worse. Pausing and turning toward yourself, even when it's uncomfortable, is what creates lasting calm. The practice of pause doesn't require a meditation cushion or a yoga retreat. It just requires willingness. Here's how to start. The micropause. 60 seconds of nothing. Set a timer. 1 minute. Close your eyes. Don't try to clear your mind or achieve anything. Just notice. Notice your breath. Notice sounds. Notice the sensation of your body in the chair. Notice thoughts coming and going like clouds. 1 minute. That's it. Do this 3 times a day. Morning, midday, before bed. It sounds absurdly simple. That's because it is. But simple doesn't mean easy, and it definitely doesn't mean ineffective. The transition pause. 5 minutes between activities. Before you start work, pause. Before you walk in your house after work, pause. Before you open your laptop, pause. Before you respond to that text that irritated you, pause. Create a buffer between the last thing and the next thing. This is where you reset, where you choose your energy instead of carrying the last thing into the next thing. Most of our stress comes from never fully ending one thing before starting another. We accumulate tension all day like a browser with 400 open tabs. The media-free meal. Eat one meal in silence. No phone. No TV. No reading. Just you and your food. Notice the taste, the texture, the act of chewing, the radical, almost forgotten experience of being present for something as simple as eating. This isn't about perfect mindfulness. It's about reclaiming small moments of your life from the black hole of distraction. The Sunday space. 2 hours of unstructured time. No agenda. No productivity. No catching up on errands. 2 hours where the only goal is to follow your energy. Sit in the park. Stare out the window. Doodle. Walk with no destination. Let your mind wander. The writer Tim Kreider said it perfectly. The space and quiet that idleness provides is a necessary condition for standing back from life and seeing it whole, for making unexpected connections and waiting for the wild summer lightning strikes of inspiration. You're not lazy for needing pause. You're human. Calm isn't something you achieve by doing more. It's something you discover by stopping. The pause is where you find yourself again. Stop running. Start pausing. Your nervous system will thank you. Chapter 5. Boundaries are love. Protecting your peace in a world that wants all of you. You can't be calm if you're constantly being invaded. Let's be brutally honest. Someone right now is stealing your peace. Maybe it's your boss who texts at 10 p.m. Maybe it's the family member who treats you like their personal therapist. Maybe it's the friend who only calls when they need something. Maybe it's the culture that demands you be available, responsive, and accommodating 24/7. And you're letting them. Not because you're weak. Because you were taught that boundaries are selfish. You were taught that being a good person means saying yes. Being accommodating. Being flexible. Putting others first. Never letting anyone down. So you answer emails on vacation. You take calls during dinner. You say yes when everything in you is screaming no. You give and give and give until you're a hollow shell wondering why you feel so resentful and exhausted. Here's the truth nobody told you. Boundaries aren't walls that keep people out. They're the fence around your garden that keeps it from being trampled. The author and researcher Brené Brown says it perfectly. Daring to set boundaries is about having the courage to love ourselves, even when we risk disappointing others. Read that again. Boundaries aren't about punishing other people. They're about loving yourself enough to protect what matters. You know what happens to people without boundaries? They burn out. They become bitter. They resent the very people they're trying to please. They lose themselves completely while trying to be everything to everyone. And they never, ever find calm. Because calm requires space. It requires energy. It requires knowing where you end and other people's demands begin. Let me tell you about David, a 38-year-old software engineer in Seattle. Brilliant guy. Kind heart. Absolutely terrible at saying no. His co-workers knew he'd always pick up the slack. His family knew he'd always show up. His friends knew he'd always be available. He was the reliable one. The nice guy. The one you could count on. He was also drinking too much, sleeping terribly, and having panic attacks in his car before going into work. When I asked him what he wanted, he looked confused. What do you mean? What do you want? Not what everyone else wants from you. What do you actually want? He sat there for a full minute. Then he said something that broke my heart. I don't even know anymore. I stopped asking myself that question years ago. This is what happens when you have no boundaries. You become a supporting character in everyone else's story. You forget you're the protagonist of your own life. David started small. He stopped answering work messages after 7 p.m. The world didn't end. He told his mother he couldn't talk every single day, that twice a week would be better. She was hurt for about a week. Then she adapted. He started saying, "Let me check my schedule and get back to you," instead of automatically saying yes to every request. The first time he set a boundary, he felt physically sick. Guilt crashed over him like a wave. He was convinced everyone would hate him. But here's what actually happened. Some people respected him more. Some people pushed back. And a few people got angry and pulled away. And that's when David learned the most important lesson about boundaries. The people who get angry at your boundaries are the people who were benefiting from you not having any. Dr. Henry Cloud, psychologist and author of Boundaries, explains, when we begin to set boundaries with people we love, a really hard thing happens. They hurt. They may feel a hole where you used to plug up their aloneness, their disorganization, or their financial irresponsibility. Whatever it is, they will feel a loss. That's not your problem to fix. Their discomfort with your boundaries is information about them, not evidence that you're doing something wrong. Here's what boundaries actually look like. Time boundaries. I don't check email after 6 p.m. I need at least one weekend day with no plans. I can talk for 20 minutes, not 2 hours. Emotional boundaries. I care about you, but I can't carry this for you. I'm not available to process your relationship drama right now. That's not something I'm willing to discuss. Physical boundaries. I need space right now. Please don't show up unannounced. I'm not comfortable with that. Digital boundaries. I don't engage in political arguments online. I'm taking a break from social media. I'm turning off notifications. Energy boundaries. I can't take on another project right now. That doesn't work for me. No, thank you. Notice something about these? They're not mean. They're not cruel. They're just honest. The problem is, we've been conditioned to think that disappointing someone is the worst thing we can do. So we disappoint ourselves instead. But here's the math that nobody talks about. Every time you say yes to something you don't want to do, you're saying no to something you do want to do, including your own peace of mind. You have a finite amount of time, energy, and emotional bandwidth. It's not selfish to protect it. It's essential. The poet David Whyte writes, "The ultimate touchstone of friendship is not improvement, neither of the other nor of the self. The ultimate touchstone is witness, the privilege of having been seen by someone, and the equal privilege of being granted the sight of the essence of another." Real relationships, healthy ones, don't require you to dissolve yourself. They require you to show up as yourself. And you can't do that without boundaries. Here's your practice. Identify your one non-negotiable boundary this week. Maybe it's no work communication after a certain hour. Maybe it's one evening completely to yourself. Maybe it's not attending an event you dread. Choose one. State it clearly. Hold it firmly. You don't need to justify it. You don't need permission. No is a complete sentence. So is, that doesn't work for me. Notice the guilt. Don't obey it. Guilt will show up. It's been programmed into you. Feel it. Acknowledge it. Don't let it override your boundary. Guilt is just the feeling of breaking an old pattern. It's not a moral compass. Watch what happens. Some people will respect you more. Some relationships will get healthier. And some people will reveal that they were only around because you were useful. That's painful. It's also clarifying. Boundaries don't destroy relationships. They reveal what the relationship actually was. And the space you create, that's where your calm lives. You can't pour from an empty cup. And you can't fill your cup if everyone has unlimited access to it. Build the fence. Tend your garden. Your peace depends on it. Chapter 6. The Comparison Trap. Why your neighbor's highlight reel is destroying your peace. You're sitting in your living room. Your life is objectively fine. Good job, decent health, people who love you. But you feel like you're failing. Why? Because you just scrolled through Instagram and saw your college roommate's promotion. Your cousin's vacation in Bali. That guy from high school who just bought his third rental property. The influencer with the perfect kitchen and the impossibly well-behaved children. And suddenly, your life feels small. Inadequate. Like you're behind in a race you didn't even know you were running. Welcome to the comparison trap. It's one of the fastest ways to destroy your calm, and you're probably falling into it dozens of times a day without even realizing it. Theodore Roosevelt said it over a century ago, "Comparison is the thief of joy." He was right then, but he didn't have Instagram. He didn't have LinkedIn. He didn't have an entire digital infrastructure designed to make you feel like everyone else is winning while you're just barely surviving. Here's what's happening. Your brain is comparing your behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel. You're comparing your messy reality to their carefully curated fiction. And you're coming up short every single time. Because that's how the game is rigged. Dr. Leon Festinger, the psychologist who developed social comparison theory in 1954, found that humans have an inherent drive to evaluate themselves by comparing themselves to others. It's not new. It's not a character flaw. It's hardwired. But here's what's different now. The scale and frequency of comparison has exploded beyond anything humans evolved to handle. 50 years ago, you compared yourself to your neighbors, your co-workers, maybe people in your town. Your reference group was small and relatively similar to you. Now, you're comparing yourself to literally everyone on the planet. The billionaire entrepreneur, the Instagram model, the celebrity chef, the travel blogger, the fitness influencer, the guy who retired at 35. You're measuring your worth against people who have entire teams curating their image, and you're doing it while sitting in your pajamas eating cereal at midnight. The research is devastating. A 2019 study published in the Journal of Social and Clinical Psychology found a direct causal link between social media use and decreased well-being. Not just correlation, causation. The more time people spent on social platforms, the more depressed and lonely they felt. Another study from the American Psychological Association found that 60% of people report feeling inadequate because of social media comparisons. You're not imagining it. The comparison trap is real, and it's stealing your peace systematically and deliberately. Let me tell you about Jennifer, a 29-year-old graphic designer in Portland. Talented, creative, building a life she actually enjoyed. Until she started measuring it against everyone else's. She'd open Instagram and see former classmates getting engaged, buying houses, launching businesses, traveling the world. She'd open LinkedIn and see people her age with fancy titles and impressive accomplishments. Meanwhile, she was freelancing from her one-bedroom apartment, still figuring things out, still building. On paper, she was doing great. In her head, she was falling behind. She started working longer hours, trying to catch up. She said yes to projects she hated because they looked good. She went into debt to afford a nicer apartment because her current one felt embarrassing compared to what she saw online. She was making decisions based on imaginary competition with people who didn't even know she existed. Her life got better on the outside and worse on the inside. More impressive, less joyful, more curated, less authentic, until she crashed. Panic attacks, insomnia, a deep, bone-tired exhaustion that came from constantly performing for an invisible audience. That's when she realized she wasn't living her life. She was competing in someone else's. Here's the brutal truth. Most of what you're comparing yourself to isn't even real. That perfect marriage, they fight like everyone else. They just don't post about it. That dream job, it comes with stress and politics and burnout that never make it into the LinkedIn update. That flawless body, it's the result of professional lighting, specific angles, and probably some editing software. That luxurious vacation might be funded by credit card debt they'll be paying off for years. You're comparing your full reality, the struggles, the doubts, the messy middle, to a carefully edited 2-minute highlight reel. And you're destroying yourself over it. The author Stephen Furtick puts it perfectly. The reason we struggle with insecurity is because we compare our behind the scenes with everyone else's highlight reel. So how do you escape the trap? First, become aware of your triggers. Who do you follow that consistently makes you feel bad about yourself? Unfollow them. Not out of spite, out of self-preservation. You wouldn't keep hanging out with someone who made you feel terrible every time you saw them. Why do it digitally? Second, compare yourself to yourself. The only comparison that matters is, am I better than I was last year? Last month? Yesterday? Are you growing? Learning? Moving toward what matters to you? Everyone else is running a different race with different starting points, different obstacles, different definitions of winning. Your only job is to run yours. Third, practice gratitude aggressively. Comparison always looks at what you lack. Gratitude looks at what you have. Every time you catch yourself in the comparison trap, immediately list 3 things in your life you're grateful for. Not performatively, genuinely. Dr. Robert Emmons, the world's leading researcher on gratitude, has found that regular gratitude practice literally rewires your brain, shifting your attention from scarcity to abundance. Fourth, remember that everyone is struggling. That person you envy? They're comparing themselves to someone else. They have problems you can't see. They feel inadequate about things you haven't even thought about. Nobody, and I mean nobody, has it all figured out. They're just posting the parts that look good. Fifth, define success for yourself. What do you actually want? Not what society says you should want. Not what your parents want. Not what looks impressive to strangers on the internet. What brings you peace? What makes you feel alive? What would you choose if nobody was watching? That's your path. Everything else is noise. The writer Mark Manson says, "The only way to be comfortable with death is to understand and see yourself as something bigger than yourself." Stop trying to win someone else's game. Start playing yours. Your calm is on the other side of comparison, and it's waiting for you to stop looking sideways and start looking forward. Chapter 7. The Surrender Principle. Finding strength in letting go. There's a word that makes most Americans deeply uncomfortable. Surrender. It sounds like giving up, like weakness, like waving the white flag and admitting defeat. In a culture built on rugged individualism, bootstraps, and making things happen, surrender feels like failure. But here's what nobody tells you. Surrender isn't weakness. It's the ultimate form of strength. And it might be the most important skill you'll ever learn for finding calm in chaos. Let me be clear about what surrender is not. It's not passivity. It's not apathy. It's not lying down and letting life steamroll you. It's not giving up on your goals or abandoning your responsibilities. Surrender is the conscious choice to stop fighting reality. It's the difference between being in a riptide and exhausting yourself swimming against it versus swimming parallel to shore and letting the current carry you until you can safely make your way back. Same ocean. Completely different outcome. The spiritual teacher Eckhart Tolle writes, "Sometimes surrender means giving up trying to understand and becoming comfortable with not knowing." Think about the last time you were truly stressed. I mean really stressed. What were you doing mentally? You were probably fighting. Fighting what already happened. Fighting what might happen. Fighting what someone said or did. Fighting your own thoughts and feelings. Fighting circumstances beyond your control. You were pouring energy into resistance. And resistance is exhausting. Here's a truth that will change your life if you let it sink in. The stress isn't coming from the situation. It's coming from your refusal to accept the situation. Your flight gets cancelled. That's not inherently stressful. It's just information. But your insistence that it shouldn't have been cancelled, your mental argument with reality, your obsessive replaying of "this shouldn't be happening," that's what creates suffering. The situation is what it is. Your resistance to it is optional. Viktor Frankl, psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, discovered this principle in the most extreme circumstances imaginable. In Man's Search for Meaning, he wrote, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." He couldn't control the concentration camp, but he could control his response. He could surrender to the circumstances while refusing to surrender his dignity, his meaning, his humanity. That's the paradox of surrender. When you stop fighting what you can't control, you reclaim power over what you can. Let me tell you about Michael, a 45-year-old financial advisor in Boston. Type A personality, everything planned, everything controlled. His life was a series of carefully executed strategies. Then his wife asked for a divorce. He didn't see it coming, and he absolutely couldn't accept it. For months he fought. He tried to convince her to stay. He obsessed over what he could have done differently. He replayed every conversation. He bargained. He made plans to fix things. He white-knuckled his way through every day, refusing to accept that his marriage was ending. He thought he was being strong. He was actually destroying himself. The panic attacks started at 3 months. The insomnia got worse. He couldn't focus at work. He stopped seeing friends. His entire life became consumed by fighting a reality that had already happened. Then one night, sitting alone in his apartment, he just stopped. He stopped fighting, stopped bargaining, stopped trying to control something that was never his to control. He said out loud to an empty room, "I surrender. I don't want this. But it's happening. I can't fight it anymore. And something remarkable occurred. The crushing weight on his chest didn't disappear, but it shifted. The constant mental warfare quieted. He could suddenly breathe a little deeper. He didn't give up on life. He gave up on fighting a battle he couldn't win. That moment of surrender? That's when his actual healing began. Dr. Kristen Neff, researcher on self-compassion at the University of Texas, has found that people who practice acceptance, true, deep acceptance of difficult realities, experience significantly less anxiety and depression than those who chronically resist what they can't change. The Serenity Prayer, used in recovery programs across America, captures this perfectly. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. That wisdom, knowing when to act and when to surrender, is everything. Here's how to practice surrender without giving up. First, identify what you're fighting. What situation, what reality, what truth are you refusing to accept? Maybe it's aging. Maybe it's a relationship that ended. Maybe it's not getting the promotion. Maybe it's your child's struggles. Maybe it's your own limitations. Maybe it's simply that life didn't turn out the way you planned. Name it clearly. You can't surrender to what you won't acknowledge. Second, separate the facts from the story. The fact: your business failed. The story: you're a failure, you'll never succeed, everyone was right to doubt you, your life is ruined. The fact is what happened. The story is your resistance to it. Surrender to the fact. Let go of the story. Third, feel it fully. Surrender doesn't mean pretending it doesn't hurt. It means letting yourself feel the disappointment, the grief, the fear, without the added layer of, this shouldn't be happening. The author Pema Chodron says, the most fundamental aggression to ourselves, the most fundamental harm we can do to ourselves, is to remain ignorant by not having the courage to look at ourselves honestly and gently. Fourth, ask, what now? Surrender isn't the end of the story. It's the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. You've accepted what is. Now what? What's one small step forward from this reality, not from the reality you wish you had? Fifth, trust the process. This might be the hardest part for Americans. We're trained to believe we can control outcomes through sheer force of will. But some things require time. Some things require patience. Some things unfold in their own way, regardless of how much you try to manage them. The Tao Te Ching, written 2,500 years ago, teaches, when I let go of what I am, I become what I might be. Surrender isn't about losing yourself. It's about finding the version of yourself that exists beyond control, beyond resistance, beyond the exhausting fight with reality. The calm you're searching for doesn't come from getting everything under control. It comes from surrendering the need to control everything. Let go. Not of your life, of your grip on it. There's peace waiting on the other side. Chapter 8. The body keeps the score. Why you can't think your way to calm. Here's a mistake almost everyone makes. They try to think their way out of anxiety. They read books. They listen to podcasts. They understand the concepts. They know intellectually that they shouldn't stress about things they can't control. They've memorized the breathing techniques and the positive affirmations. And yet, their heart still races. Their jaw still clenches. Their stomach still churns. Their sleep still sucks. Why? Because anxiety doesn't live in your thoughts. It lives in your body. You can't think your way out of something that's stored in your nervous system. You can't convince your body to relax when it's been trained to stay on high alert. Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, one of the world's leading trauma researchers, titled his groundbreaking book The Body Keeps the Score for exactly this reason. Your body remembers what your mind tries to forget. Your nervous system holds patterns that your consciousness doesn't even recognize. Every stressful experience, every unprocessed emotion, every moment of threat, real or perceived, gets encoded in your body. In your muscle tension. in your breathing patterns, in your gut, in the way you hold your shoulders or clench your fists without even noticing. You're walking around carrying years of stress in your tissues, and you're trying to fix it with affirmations. That's like trying to heal a broken leg by thinking positive thoughts about it. Let me tell you about Rachel, a 32-year-old teacher in Denver. She'd been in therapy for 2 years working on her anxiety. She understood her childhood patterns. She could articulate her triggers. She had a whole toolkit of cognitive strategies. But she still woke up with a knot in her stomach every morning. She still held her breath throughout the day. She still felt like she was constantly bracing for impact. "I know what I'm supposed to do," she told me, frustrated. "I know my thoughts aren't facts. I know I'm safe. But my body doesn't believe it." Exactly. Because her body had learned, over decades, that the world wasn't safe. That she needed to stay vigilant. That relaxation was dangerous. You can't talk a nervous system out of that. You have to retrain it. Dr. Stephen Porges, developer of polyvagal theory, explains that we have 3 primary nervous system states. Ventral vagal, safe and social. This is where calm lives, where connection happens, where your body feels safe enough to rest, digest, and heal. Sympathetic, fight or flight. Your body is mobilized for threat. Heart racing, muscles tense, ready to act. Dorsal vagal, freeze or shut down. When threat is overwhelming, your system collapses into disconnection and numbness. Most anxious people spend their entire lives toggling between sympathetic activation and dorsal shutdown. They're either wired and stressed or exhausted and numb. They almost never drop into ventral vagal, into genuine, embodied calm. Not because they're broken, because their nervous system has been trained to perceive the world as threatening. And here's the crucial part. Your nervous system doesn't respond to logic. It responds to sensation, movement, breath, and safe connection. You can tell yourself you're safe 1,000 times. But if your shoulders are up around your ears, if your breath is shallow, if your muscles are rigid, your body is broadcasting a different message. And your body's message wins every time. The therapist Peter Levine, who developed somatic experiencing therapy, says it this way: trauma is not what happens to you. It's what happens inside you in the absence of an empathetic witness. That includes the small t traumas of everyday life, the chronic stress, the emotional invalidation, the years of pushing through instead of processing. All of it gets stored in your body, and all of it needs to be released through your body, not just understood with your mind. So how do you actually do this? First, move the energy. Your body under stress is flooded with cortisol and adrenaline, stress hormones designed to fuel action. But most modern stress doesn't get discharged through action. You don't literally run from your boss or fight your way out of traffic. The energy stays stuck. Exercise isn't just good for your heart. It's how you complete the stress cycle. Running, dancing, boxing, even shaking. These physically metabolize stress hormones and signal to your body that the threat has passed. The authors Emily and Amelia Nagoski, in their book Burnout, explain, wellness is not a state of being, but a state of action. It's the freedom to move through the cycles of being human. Second, breathe like you're safe. Your breath is the only part of your autonomic nervous system you can consciously control. And it's a two-way street. Your emotional state affects your breath, but your breath also affects your emotional state. When you're anxious, your breath is shallow, rapid, and chest-focused. When you're calm, it's slow, deep, and belly-focused. Here's the hack. You can fake calm until your body believes it. Box breathing, used by Navy SEALs. Inhale for 4 counts, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. Repeat. Your nervous system reads that pattern and thinks, we must be safe. Nobody breathes like this when they're being chased by a lion. Third, release the tension. Progressive muscle relaxation works because tension is habitual. Most people don't even realize they're clenching their jaw, hunching their shoulders, or gripping their steering wheel like they're hanging off a cliff. Systematically tense and release each muscle group. Notice where you're holding. Then consciously let go. Physical therapist and pain specialist Dr. John Sarno discovered that most chronic pain isn't structural. It's the body's way of holding suppressed emotions. Your tight shoulders aren't just from your desk setup. They're from carrying burdens you haven't acknowledged. Fourth, practice grounding. When your mind is spinning into the future or trapped in the past, your body can pull you back to the present. Feel your feet on the floor. Notice 5 things you can see. Touch something textured. Splash cold water on your face. These aren't distractions. They're signals to your nervous system. We're here. We're now. We're safe. Fifth, prioritize safe connection. Your nervous system regulates through co-regulation. You literally calm down in the presence of calm people. This is why therapy works. Why support groups work. Why a hug from someone you trust can stop a panic attack. You're not meant to regulate alone. You're wired for connection. The author Gabor Mate writes, "The question is not why the addiction, but why the pain." The same is true for anxiety. The question isn't why you can't calm down. It's what your body has been protecting you from. Your body isn't betraying you. It's trying to keep you safe with outdated programming. Thank it. Then teach it something new. Calm isn't a mental achievement. It's a physical practice. And it starts now. Chapter 9. Building your Calm Toolkit. Daily practices that actually work. Knowledge without action is just entertainment. You've made it this far. You understand the illusion of control. You recognize your brain's anxiety factory. You know about the noise diet, the power of pause, the necessity of boundaries. You've learned about comparison, surrender, and why your body holds the key to lasting calm. But understanding doesn't change anything. Practice does. This chapter isn't theory. It's your operating manual. These are the daily, practical, unglamorous habits that will transform your relationship with stress, if you actually do them. Not perfectly, not all at once, but consistently. The philosopher William James wrote, "All our life is but a mass of habits, practical, emotional, and intellectual, systematically organized for our weal or woe, and bearing us irresistibly toward our destiny." Your habits are either building calm or destroying it. There's no neutral. Here's your toolkit. Pick 3 practices to start. Master them. Then add more. The morning anchor. 10 minutes of intentional beginning. How you start your day determines how you experience it. Most people grab their phones before their eyes fully open. They start the day reactive, flooded with other people's agendas, problems, and chaos. Your first 10 minutes should belong to you. Here's the practice. Wake up and don't touch your phone. Put it in another room if necessary. Drink a full glass of water. Sit somewhere comfortable. Take 10 deep breaths, counting each exhale. Ask yourself 3 questions. What am I grateful for right this moment? What's one thing I can control today? How do I want to feel today? That's it. 10 minutes. No app required. No special equipment. Hal Elrod, author of The Miracle Morning, found that the first hour of your day determines your emotional trajectory for the next 16. Don't give it away. The midday reset. Breaking the stress accumulation. Stress accumulates like interest on a loan. A little tension in the morning becomes crushing anxiety by evening if you never discharge it. Set an alarm for midday. When it goes off, step away from your desk or workspace. Go outside if possible, even for 2 minutes. Move your body, stretch, walk, shake out your arms. Do the physiological sigh. 2 quick inhales through your nose, 1 long exhale through your mouth. Ask, what am I carrying that isn't mine? This 5-minute reset prevents the buildup that leads to that 6 p.m. crash where you're irritable, exhausted, and overwhelmed. Think of it as emotional hygiene. You wouldn't go all day without using the bathroom. Don't go all day without releasing accumulated stress. The transition ritual. Creating space between roles. Americans are terrible at transitions. We finish a stressful work call and immediately walk into the house where our family needs us. We carry the energy from one space directly into another. Then we wonder why we snap at people we love or can't be present. Create a 5-minute buffer between work and home. Sit in your car or walk around the block if you work from home. Close your eyes. Take 10 slow breaths. Mentally acknowledge what happened during work. Physically shake it off. Literally shake your hands, roll your shoulders. Set an intention for the next space. I'm entering as a parent now, not an employee. This might sound silly. It's actually sacred. You're preventing contamination between the different domains of your life. The technology sabbatical. 1 hour of digital silence. Every single day, for 1 hour, go completely offline. No phone, no computer, no TV, no smartwatch. Use this hour for whatever replenishes you. Reading, walking, cooking, sitting on your porch, playing with your kids, having an actual conversation. The writer and farmer Wendell Berry said, "The past is our definition. We may strive with good reason to escape it, or to escape what is bad in it, but we will escape it only by adding something better to it. You can't add something better if you're perpetually consuming what's already there. Start with 1 hour. If that feels impossible, start with 30 minutes. If your hands shake and you feel phantom vibrations, good. You're detoxing from an addiction you didn't know you had. The gratitude practice. Rewiring your default settings. Your brain has a negativity bias. It's evolutionarily wired to scan for problems, threats, and what's wrong. You have to deliberately train it to notice what's right. Every evening, before bed, write down 3 specific things you're grateful for. Not vague platitudes. Specific moments. Not, "I'm grateful for my family," but, "I'm grateful for the way my daughter laughed at breakfast when she got syrup on her nose." Dr. Robert Emmons' research at UC Davis shows that people who keep gratitude journals experience 25% increased happiness, better sleep, and reduced symptoms of illness. Your brain physically changes when you practice gratitude consistently. New neural pathways form. Your attention shifts from scarcity to abundance. The weekly audit. Honest assessment without judgment. Every Sunday evening, spend 15 minutes reviewing your week. What created calm this week? What created chaos? Where did I maintain boundaries? Where did I abandon them? What do I need more of next week? What do I need less of? This isn't about shame or perfection. It's about awareness. You can't change patterns you don't see. James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, writes, "You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems." These practices are your system. The physical discharge. Move the stress out. 3 times per week minimum. Move your body intensely enough to sweat and breathe hard. This isn't about fitness or weight loss. It's about completing the stress response cycle that gets triggered multiple times daily but rarely finishes. Running, dancing, boxing, cycling, swimming. Whatever gets your heart rate up and your breath heavy. When you're done, your body believes the threat is over. The stress hormones metabolize. Your nervous system can finally stand down. The connection practice. Combat isolation. At least once per week, have a real conversation with someone you trust. Face to face if possible. Voice to voice at minimum. Not texting. Not messaging. Actual human connection where you're seen and heard. Loneliness is an epidemic in America. And lonely people can't be calm people. Your nervous system needs co-regulation. The practices aren't complicated, but they're not optional either. Calm is built, not found. One small practice at a time. Starting today. Chapter 10. The Calm Manifesto. Living as the eye of your own storm. You've reached the final chapter. But this isn't an ending. It's a beginning. Everything you've learned up to this point has prepared you for the most important truth of all. Calm is not a destination you reach. It's a decision you make, moment by moment, in the middle of the chaos. The world isn't going to get less chaotic. Technology will accelerate. Information will multiply. Demands will increase. Uncertainty will remain constant. The noise will get louder. But you can get calmer. Not because your circumstances changed, because you did. Let me paint you a picture of what's possible. Imagine waking up without dread. Not because your day is easy, but because you trust yourself to handle whatever comes. Imagine sitting in traffic without your blood pressure spiking. Not because traffic disappeared, but because you stopped fighting reality. Imagine receiving criticism without spiraling. Not because the words don't sting, but because you know they don't define you. Imagine disappointing someone without collapsing in guilt. Not because you stopped caring, but because you finally understand that boundaries are love. Imagine scrolling past someone's success without feeling like a failure. Not because comparison disappeared, but because you stopped measuring your worth against their highlight reel. Imagine facing uncertainty without panic. Not because you gained control, but because you surrendered the illusion that you ever had it. This is available to you. Right now. Not someday when your life gets easier. Today, exactly as things are. The author Pema Chodron writes, "We think that the point is to pass the test or to overcome the problem, but the truth is that things don't really get solved. They come together and they fall apart. Calm isn't about stopping the waves. It's about learning to surf." Let's distill everything you've learned into the essential truths you'll carry forward. The essential lessons. 1. You can't control the chaos, but you can control your response to it. The illusion of control creates anxiety. Acceptance creates peace. Direct your energy toward what's actually within your power. Your thoughts, your actions, your attention, your boundaries. 2. Your brain is wired for survival, not serenity. The amygdala doesn't distinguish between actual threats and perceived ones. You must actively train your nervous system to recognize safety. This requires practice, not just understanding. 3. Most chaos is optional. You're consuming noise voluntarily. The news, the social media, the toxic relationships, the overcommitment. These are choices dressed up as obligations. Cut what depletes you. Protect your attention like your life depends on it because your quality of life does. 4. Pause is not weakness, it's wisdom. Your brain needs space to process, integrate, and reset. The constant doing, consuming, and producing is destroying you. Build emptiness into your life deliberately. This is where insight lives. 5. Boundaries protect what matters most. Saying no to others is saying yes to yourself. The people who respect your boundaries deserve your energy. The people who violate them are showing you exactly who they are. Believe them. 6. Comparison is poison. You're running your own race with your own obstacles toward your own definition of success. Everyone else's journey is irrelevant to yours. Eyes on your own paper. Always. 7. Surrender is strength, not defeat. Fighting unchangeable reality is the fastest path to suffering. Acceptance doesn't mean approval. It means acknowledging what is so you can respond effectively. Let go of the rope you're pulling against. Watch what happens. 8. Your body holds the truth your mind tries to hide. You can't think your way to calm when your nervous system is screaming danger. Move the stress. Breathe intentionally. Release the tension. Ground yourself in your body. This is where transformation actually happens. 9. Small practices compound into profound change. You don't need a complete life overhaul. You need 10 minutes in the morning, a midday reset, digital boundaries, a weekly audit. Simple, unsexy, consistent practices that rewire your brain one day at a time. 10. Calm is a practice, not a personality trait. You're not just an anxious person. You're a person who's been practicing anxiety. Start practicing calm instead. It takes time. It takes repetition. It takes falling down and getting back up. But it works. Your new relationship with chaos. The chaos hasn't disappeared. You're still reading this in a world that's overwhelming, uncertain, and constantly demanding more than you have to give. But you're different now. You see the patterns. You recognize the traps. You know where your power actually lives. You understand that the calm you're seeking isn't out there. It's not in the perfect job, the ideal relationship, the bigger house, the better circumstances. It's in here. In you. In the space between stimulus and response. In the breath you take before reacting. In the boundary you hold. In the comparison you refuse to make. In the noise you decline to consume. Marcus Aurelius, who ruled an empire during plague, war, and constant crisis, wrote in his private journal, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." 2,000 years later, in a completely different world facing completely different challenges, this truth remains unchanged. The invitation. This is your life. Not a dress rehearsal. Not a practice round. The real thing, happening right now, while you're reading these words. You can spend it fighting reality, comparing yourself to others, consuming chaos, and wondering why you never feel at peace. Or you can choose differently. You can become the calm in the center of the storm. Not untouched by the wind, but unshaken by it. Not avoiding the waves, but learning to move with them. Not someday. Today. Not when things get easier. Right now, exactly as things are. The ancient Stoics had a phrase. Amor fati. Love your fate. Not because it's perfect, but because it's yours. Every challenge is an opportunity to practice. Every moment of chaos is an invitation to choose calm. You know what to do now. The question is, will you do it? The world needs calm people. Centered people. People who don't add to the collective anxiety but instead model a different way. Be that person. Not perfect. Not enlightened. Just practicing. One breath at a time. One boundary at a time. One moment of presence at a time. Welcome to the art of being calm in a chaotic world.